Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and pleased to be joined we don't get to talk to one of these people every day, but when you find one of them, it's always interesting to do. So Grant Fisher, of course, many people remember he went to Grand Blanc High School. So then after high school, he went to Stanford. And then Grant, kind of tell everybody what you're doing now.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, first of all. I think this will be a fun conversation. I graduated from Stanford in 2019. And after that, I became a professional runner for Nike. Running is kind of a weird sport. It's a niche sport for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't get the same coverage as a lot of the big name sports, but the way that it's set up kind of is I represent a shoe company. That's how professional runners are paid. So, for example, Usain Bolt was signed with Puma. Similarly, I'm signed with Nike, and the deal is basically I represent the shoe company, the brand. They pay me, and I promote their product basically by running fast in it. So there's races all through the world every year. The biggest race being the Olympic Games, which unfortunately only come every 4 years. So the way to qualify for the Olympics in the US is at the Olympic trials, which happen in June. So I'm gearing up for that, trying to make the team and go to Tokyo.
So kind of talk about what a professional runner does. I know you just kind of explained it, but not many people have heard of the term professional runner before. Is this something that you do for a living and stuff? And just do you ever think you'd run for a living and make money off of it?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of hard to wrap your head around. And yeah, this is like my employment. I don't work another job. So it's, you're not getting paid NFL money, but you get paid pretty well. And to break it down, essentially my day looks like a lot of training, a lot of time in the gym, trying to get as fit as possible. But at the same time, you can't run for 8 hours a day like a normal job. Your body would just kind of fall apart if you tried to do that. So there's a lot of downtime, which is generally spent recovering because the training is pretty hard, but definitely a non-traditional source of employment. But I love it, man. I'm living the dream, just seeing how fast I can go basically. And I've had a bunch of races lately and they've been going pretty well. So got some good momentum. Hopefully can get on this team and get to Tokyo.
So what's a typical day for you to, like, how long, like what's a typical day in the life?
Right. Okay. So I'm based out of Portland, Oregon. I'm here because the Nike headquarters are here. And there's a training group that I train with that's based out of here. And I'll wake up in the morning, usually around like 7:30, and get ready to go run, have some breakfast, head over to Nike. The world headquarters are just over in Beaverton, Oregon, which is maybe 10 miles away. And do a training run there. Standard training run is about 10 miles. And then in normal times, we'd use some of the gyms on Nike's campus, but those are still closed due to COVID. So our team goes to a gym, like a private gym just for our team, my like little training group, and do some weights and stuff, come back, have some lunch. By then it's around 1 or 2 p.m. Often I'll take a nap and then get up for another run, usually like 5 miles or so. And then make some dinner and recover. The training's pretty intense. We're running anywhere from 80 to 110 miles a week, and doing pretty intense sessions on the track twice a week. So the track sessions could look like 8 times a mile with 90 seconds rest between, and the miles cutting down from 4:30 per mile to 4:10 per mile or something like that. So they definitely beat you up.
Yeah. So on average, usually in a week, how much would you, on average, how much would you run in a week?
Yeah, probably around 80 to 110 miles a week.
That's like the equivalent of like 2, 3 marathons.
Yeah, it's a lot of training, a lot of pounding on your body.
Um, how do you prepare yourself, for that kind of rigorous training?
Well, you certainly have to build into it. This is not something that you can just hop into and do. I've been running since I was in about 7th grade for Grand Blanc East Middle School.
Yeah.
So my mileage back then was far less than now, and built up through high school, kind of slowly building intensity, doing harder workouts, more mileage, and then same thing through college, going from maybe running 40 or 50 miles a week in high school, building up through college to running 70 or 80 miles a week, to now being able to run more like 90 miles a week. Um, and I have teammates that are doing much more than that, but just a slow build. Um, yeah, if you try to jump up in training too much, uh, it's a recipe for pretty bad injuries.
Right.
Some of the common injuries in running are, different than other sports. Our injuries are stress injuries, so repeated pounding on certain joints and bones and stuff, you'll get stress fractures, stress reactions, things like that.
Yeah. So, kind of going back to when you were at Grand Blanc, I remember. I think it was covering that area. I was doing high school at the time there. And I just remember that when because Livingston County, that's where I was based. Grand Blanc was in that league, and I remember when you came there, everyone was just like it just like kind of stopped there. Did you know how big you were in or where you went because everybody knew who you were, everybody knew how fast you were. Did all the attention from when you were in high school did that like catch up to you, and did you like all that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I tried not to let it happen, and I think my parents and my coach in high school were actively trying to almost like shield me from that when I was in high school.
Mhm.
Um, I did have the advantage of social media wasn't as huge of a thing back then. Twitter was kind of in its infancy.
I was still.
Instagram had kind of just started. Um, there weren't like, running doesn't have ESPN covering high school kids the way that ESPN might cover like Zion Williamson when he's in high school. So the pressure is different. It's a niche sport. And I think not having social media as much was helpful in that too. Just keeping a level head and not like, yeah, I don't know how child stars in other big name sports handle it. Not saying like I was a child star, but like I was good at what I did. And there was like the running attention that comes with that. But again, that's a small community. So I tried to not let it get to my head. I'm sure if you talk to some of my friends, like there were times where I was kind of being a prima donna or whatever, but I tried my best to kind of stay level headed about it all.
Okay, so kind of going back to the training a little bit because I wanted to get that in there, but
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
to go back to training. So what's like, I know diet's also important in obviously with rigorous training and all that. Take me kind of, do you keep like a food journal of what you eat, when you eat it, and all that?
Yeah. Personally, I don't. There are people that do. Um,
So what's
Fueling
a
is
meal that you eat or something? Like what's do you eat like the same thing or do you like what?
yeah.
So what?
There's like I'd say there's like two main philosophies that runners have. It's either some people think, hey, I'm running 100 miles a week. I can put anything in my body. I'm just going to burn it. Like I just need to get calories in. Other people say like, I'm running 100 miles a week. I want to put the best stuff in my body and optimize that. I'd say I fall somewhere in the middle. I try to eat as healthy as I can, but it's cool if like I want to like have some junk food every once in a while because I am training really hard. That stuff will just burn off. Um,
So
in a typical day, like breakfast would be something pretty light because I'm going to go run 10 miles right after. So I don't want anything heavy, like just a banana, some toast, some peanut butter, oatmeal, like really basic stuff.
peanut butter toast, avocado toast.
Avocado, I would lean away from avocado in the morning a little too. Plus, I guess it's not that hard to make, but peanut butter toast is pretty easy. And then lunchtime, like refueling, getting protein in, especially an aspect that's really important is right after runs or lifts or whatever, just fueling right away, getting something in your body, just jump starting the metabolism, getting the recovery process started. And yeah, lunch will probably be something with a bit more protein, a bit more substance. And then dinner, again, lots of protein. I mean, I'm not a big guy by any means, but I eat a lot. Like we have to fuel so much. So I'm probably eating, uh, it's tough to estimate exactly, but certainly over 3,000 calories a day, maybe even pushing 4, just because I'm training so much. Like you just need that much energy.
Yeah. So like when you go to these like when you train a lot, like what's like coming up like the next thing? Because I know you're getting ready for, the trials as you said. Is it just like, do you like pick somewhere different to run, or do you run the same, excuse me, do you like run the same thing or something? So how do you train? Where do you like go? Do you run somewhere around like the Nike campus or something?
Yeah, it depends. We move around a lot. I'm probably not in Portland more than I'm in Portland. So, for example, I was in Flagstaff, Arizona for about 2 months for training camp up at altitude. Um, and we do altitude camps 2 to 3 times a year to try to build up our red blood cell count um, and get like really strong up there. Training at altitude is very hard. If anyone's ever been to altitude out there that's listening to this, they'll understand what I'm saying. But everything's harder, breathing's harder, going upstairs is harder. Yeah, I'll be training in Flagstaff, different dirt roads every day. It's a great spot to train. I'm currently in Portland. We switch things up. There's some pretty good running around Nike's campus. There's other trails around Portland that are pretty nice to get to. But then in about a month, we'll be doing another altitude camp in Park City, Utah. And so different trails up there, different dirt roads, different places to train. So we are switching it up pretty frequently. And in a normal year, we would be over in Europe for most of the summer. That's where a lot of the big races are in track and field.
Yeah.
So we would set up camp. Commonly, we set up camp in St. Moritz, Switzerland, and use that as a base camp and go different places to race and run throughout Europe. So unfortunately, we can't really do that this year just because everything's weird still. But in the future, I certainly will be outside of Portland racing and running in different places more than I'm here.
Right. Remember when we went to the ESPYs?
Yeah.
Okay, can we go? I kind of wanted to bring that because we when you think of questions and stuff, and I remember that, and I'm like, went to the ESPYs one time. What? So like, how did you get to go there?
Yeah. So I was invited there through a program that Gatorade sponsors called the Player of the Year program. And they go through every high school sport, men's and women's, and picks a player of the year in that sport. So I was the player of the year in men's cross country when I was in high school.
What year was this?
This would have been 2014 and 15. Yeah.
So you went there twice.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet anybody cool?
Oh yeah. I mean, so the interesting thing was like, sure, like I was selected as like the top cross country runner.
Yeah.
But the top high school basketball player is like a huge name every year. So my senior year, it was Ben Simmons. So like
Really?
I was hanging out and, doing all this stuff for the weekend with Ben Simmons and like 10 other high school kids.
What was that like? What was it like hanging out with Ben? Did you know that Ben Simmons was one day going to be playing in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the names of the people that
You still keep
are
it,
chosen for that. What's that?
you still keep in touch with him?
No, I don't keep in touch with him. I'm sure he's changed his number by now as well. My junior year, it was Karl Anthony Towns.
Really?
So these are huge names, obviously, and they're just like kind of high school kids at some to some level. Like obviously those guys had huge media hype, huge hype going into college. Everyone knew that they were going to be kind of like one and done or in the NBA very soon and a star very soon. So it was so cool. And the program that Gatorade put on allowed us to meet a bunch of really famous people too. So we
Who
had
did
a
you get to meet?
we had a dinner and I was sat next to uh, Ben Simmons on one side, Draymond Green on the other,
Really?
and then I think Carl had come back, so he had just signed as a pro. Um, I think he had just gone pro, but Carl Anthony Towns was back. So I'm sitting at this table like with all these superstars. Um, it's a wild feeling. And again, talking to Draymond, he's a Michigan native. It
Yeah.
was cool talking to him. We were talking about growing up in Michigan and what it's like. And he was just like a nice dude, talking to a high school kid that clearly looked up to him, clearly thought that he was really cool. So yeah, it was super cool. We got to walk the red carpet. I tried to take pictures with like everybody I saw.
Okay, so who did you get like, who was the biggest person you got a picture with?
Um, I like half got a picture with Kevin Durant. Like he paused for a moment to take the picture, like a split second, because he like,
Then he just like this
and
guy.
then he kept moving. Yeah, which makes sense. Like I'm sure he's pestered
He's
for
probably
pictures
like,
all the time.
yeah, he's probably like he had to go to like I think he had probably went to go presentation or just
Yeah,
some party or something in there, and I don't know.
yeah,
Hey, turning into a big NBA player, it's crazy. I met Andre Drummond one time.
oh yeah,
That was interesting. So just
yeah.
the
Uh,
the perks of doing this job is you get to meet all different types of people. So in front of all different types of life. So that's why I kind of wanted to get you on because you're well, the thing is not every day you get to meet someone that runs for a shoe company and not just any shoe company. You get to run for Nike. So back to, preparing. Did you ever think that you would be doing all this?
oh, definitely not. Like when I was
Yeah, though.
when I was a kid, I didn't even know that professional running was a thing, as I'm sure most people
Here.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, I always had dreams of playing sports in college. When I was a kid, I grew up playing soccer, so my dream was like playing soccer in college.
Did you play soccer when
Um,
you were in high school?
yeah, I played in high school, um, but yeah, that was the dream. High school me wanted to play collegiate soccer. High school me didn't really know that professional running was a thing until like I got a bit older in high school, and started paying attention to the sport a bit more. But no, I never thought that things would be what they are now. Just even the times that I'm able to run now, like, when you're a high school kid, you run a mile in 7 minutes or whatever, and you think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like thinking now how, running under 4 minutes is like pretty commonplace on the professional side. It's kind of weird to think back at like how your expectations change and how your like metrics of what's good and what's not good kind of change.
When's the last time you have been back to Michigan?
Ooh. I went back last Christmas, the Christmas before this past one.
So you
My
guys,
parents, my parents actually just moved out of Michigan.
really?
Yeah, they moved down to Texas. And I don't have any other family in Michigan actually. Uh, when I when my family moved to Michigan, I was about 4,
Okay.
and all of my family lived and continues to live either in Texas or in Canada. Um, so we were kind of a little isolated in Michigan. Like we were the only immediate family.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, like all my friends would go see their cousins or like their aunt and uncle or their grandparents.
No, you could have did that. You could have just jumped on a plane and went to.
And we would on occasion, but not at the same frequency as you'd be able to growing up around your extended family. So I haven't been back in a while.
You want to go back?
Yeah, I would definitely go back. It'd be cool to go home to Grand Blanc and see.
Do you think people would remember you?
Maybe, I don't know. I guess it depends. Like if I run into some guys I went to high school with, I think we'd all remember each other.
Well, of course.
But
I mean, when the thing is, when I go out and people see what I'm doing, yeah, people. I mean, I had my best friend who I went to high school with is a TV reporter out in the Lansing area. So,
oh,
um,
cool.
so like obviously if media members around in the Grand Lake area, they obviously know who you were and stuff. But if you did get a chance to go to the Olympics, and I know that in 2020, obviously, with the Olympics being moved because of COVID, in 2021, it's with everything different, it's going to be so different down there, and it's going. Well, I mean, you're going for the first time, so you just get used to all the. I'm sure you're used to all the protocols of staying away from each other and masks and stuff and all that. But just how big would it be to be down there with all those people from every single country known to man to be down
Oh,
to be down.
yeah, it would be huge. I mean, that's like my new dream, getting to the Olympics and representing the US. Similarly to how I was kind of starstruck at the ESPYs, I'm sure it's even more so at the Olympics. You see people in every sport that are the best in the world. And to be a part of that would be something that's really cool.
Yeah.
Things will certainly look a little different this year just because, COVID is lingering and this isn't a solved problem.
Right.
So we get periodic emails from the U.S. Olympic Committee just updating us on what the games might look like. It sounds like the Olympic Village will pretty much not exist. At least that is the plan. It sounds like we won't really be able to like travel around, and we'll kind of just go in when we have our race, and then we'll have to leave. So opening and closing ceremonies will be certainly changed. And yeah, it'll be a totally different experience than what it maybe usually is, but that doesn't diminish what it would mean for me to go. It would be so cool. And I mean, I'm just happy that it sounds like the games are happening. There was a couple months ago, I wasn't that confident that they would happen. So I'm just happy that the trajectory seems like they're going to happen.
Okay. So let's have some fun here. Let's kind of get to know you a little bit outside of, the running stuff and everything that, that you do outside of there. I tend to do this with a lot of, guests and young, when I cover, with the NASCAR stuff that I do. A lot of young guys and a lot of people don't know. So let's get to know you, Grant. This is going to be really fun. Okay. So what's your all-time favorite movie?
Ooh, all-time favorite movie. That's tough. I don't know if I have a favorite, although I just watched Shawshank Redemption with one of my buddies for the first time. And that was a great movie. That honestly might have catapulted itself up to all-time favorite. Great movie.
Have you seen Days of Thunder?
No.
You need to watch it.
All right, I'll check it out.
Okay. It was in the 90s, but it's an excellent movie. And then you'll fall in love with NASCAR. What what's the perk of living out in the what's what's your what's the best thing to do in Portland?
Ooh. The best thing to do in Portland, it depends on if is it COVID times or is it not COVID times. I'd say like
Just whatever.
um I'd say there's a park kind of in the hillside overlooking Portland, and they have a rose garden up there. And in the summertime, it's usually packed, but it's gorgeous. You get a view of the city. There's a dormant volcano nearby called Mount Hood. You get a gorgeous view of that. That was one of the first things I did when I moved here was just go up there and just kind of chill in this area with like all these gorgeous flowers and this scenery. It definitely feels like you're on the West Coast when you're kind of up there. Pacific Northwest vibes for sure.
Okay. All right. Now these next questions are going to be, a game that I like to call true or false. So basically what I'm going to do is say a statement and you're going to have to either agree with it or not.
All right.
Okay. True or false, I don't care what my hair looks like.
False.
True or false, I have running superstitions.
True.
What are they?
I always tie my right shoe before my left. And similarly, like right sock on, left sock on. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. You say, that reminds me of the Karate Kid or something. Wax on, wax off.
Yeah. Yeah, right to left always.
True or false, I watched game shows during quarantine.
False.
True or false, I got tired of quarantine after day 7.
True.
True or false, no, I don't want to use that one. True or false, I once met oh geez, I can't come up with some of these. True or false, I prefer drawing over coloring.
Ooh, I'm not really one for either, but I'd say coloring. So I guess that'd be false. False.
Yeah. I guess it would be. True or false, I use methods like meditation to help me calm myself.
True.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, before races, especially higher pressure races, gotta calm yourself down. If you overthink too much in these races, you can kind of just fry yourself mentally before they happen.
So what do you do?
I mean, nothing too extravagant. Just maybe if I'm in the hotel room beforehand, just laying there and trying to just calm my mind, like stop thinking about all these external things and just kind of focus on breathing and then walk through somewhat visualization of the race, how I think it'll go, like what I'll do in certain situations and kind of walk through the whole routine in my head.
Just shut your eyes and just look, just envision.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false, I did not know that the royal family does not control England.
False. I knew that.
You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't know that. True or false, I never watched a minute of NASCAR.
False.
Okay. That's good for my other day job. True or false, I wanted every media member and camera and every fan to go away during my senior year.
During parts, certainly true.
Okay. Some of these I just pop in there. True or false, I think New York City is the best vacation spot ever.
False.
True or false, I want to go on a game show one day.
False.
True or false, I make great pasta.
True. You got to make a lot of pasta out here, carbo loading all the time.
True or false, I ordered a pizza before a race.
True.
True or false, I've shook hands with Phil Knight.
False.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen Phil. I mean, Phil's pretty old right now. He doesn't really come to Nike hardly that often anymore.
Oh, okay.
Especially during COVID, the whole campus is shut down.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. True or false? I watched every episode of The Last Dance.
True.
Right. I just literally watched it.
I've watched it twice. It's so good.
I have watched it. That was my second time through, and probably in a few months I'll watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yeah.
I bought like a ton of documentaries, the last few months, and they've been amazing. Maybe I'll have to share them with you. True or false? I need a new NFL team to root for.
I'll stay loyal to the Lions. False.
What? No. True or false? I was sad when Stafford left.
False.
True or false? The Detroit sports teams will never win a championship in 20 years.
I'd say false.
And finally, true or false? I may put my left sock on before my right sock.
No, false. Never.
One day you're gonna do that, and then you're gonna trip over yourself.
Well, I've done it before on accident, and I'll take it. Like if I put on the left before my right and realize it, I'll take them off so that I can put on the right again before the left.
Grant Fisher, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This has been an awesome conversation. So congrats to you. Let's have you on again because I always love good podcast guests, and you are one of them. And and one more thing, talk about that new podcast you're hosting.
Oh yeah, my buddy and I just started a podcast. It's called The Half Step Pod. His name's Connor Lane. We were teammates in college at Stanford. Yeah. He's currently still at Stanford running there. But yeah, it's kind of a podcast just trying to give insight into what it is that this professional running thing is. Like kind of a behind the scenes look at what's going on. We're trying to release episodes once a week. So we are 2 episodes deep so far. I have just raced twice in the past 2 weeks. So most of our conversation is kind of filtered around that race that I was just coming off of. But yeah, most weeks it'll kind of be a behind the scenes look, like what am I doing with running that week? Like, where am I? Am I in Flagstaff? Like, what's going on in the running world? Just general stuff like that. And I think if someone doesn't know anything about running, it could be a cool little way to understand the sport. Yeah.
All right, Grant, thank you so much. Let's talk to you before you head off to the Olympic trials, and maybe we'll talk to you in a few months.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.